Hello and welcome to Teach Me Live. Today we are going to be learning about the house rulers, specifically the first house. This is going to be the chart ruler. Of course, this is part of the TRZO database. If in the case that you guys have any questions or you are watching this pre-recorded, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be answering all questions at the end. Of course, as I said, we're going to be doing chart rulers and we're going to get a little bit into derivatives today. So as I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end. All right, here we go. So we're going to start with a house ruler. What is a house ruler? What do I mean when I say the house ruler? It's the planet that's ruling the sign that's sitting on a house cusp. So for instance, if we're talking about the first house, in which we are talking about today, the first house being in Aries, Aries is ruled by Mars. So Mars would be that house ruler for the first house. Now, say for instance, if we were talking about the 10th house in Scorpio, that would be ruled by Mars and Pluto, because we observe Pluto being the ruler of Scorpio in modern astrology. Of course, I want you to get into the habit of using traditional rulerships as well as the modern rulerships, because the traditional rulerships give the more personal effects and the modern effects also tie in the influence that it may have on a specific sign. So it is also important to note that the first house ruler is also referred to as the chart ruler. It does hold a lot of prominence in your chart. So for instance, if your chart is ruled by the moon, this means that you're really led by your emotions, you're really led by your intuition, your inner self as well. If your chart is ruled by the sun, you could be led by your personality, your expression, your external drive, your life's focus as well. Could indicate a very strong personality here as well. Now, say for instance, if Venus ruled your chart, this means that you may have a high sense of worth or value, or perhaps you like to give back to yourself. Relationships may come very easy to you, and so on and so forth. The examples go on for time. And these are your planetary rulers. I want you guys to get used to, as I said, the traditional rulerships alongside the modern rulerships as well. So I have listed the traditional rulerships alongside the modern rulerships, as you can see right here, down here. You see I put Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, just in the case if you guys want to tie in the modern rulerships to the traditional rulerships. But of course, I did list the traditional planets, Sun through Saturn. So we do have Sun ruling Leo, of course. Moon rules Cancer. They are the divine luminaries. That's why they don't have another expression of themselves. Mars has a feminine and a masculine expression. Aries is the masculine expression of Mars. Scorpio is the feminine of Mars as well. Then we have Venus. Taurus is the feminine expression of Venus, and Libra is the masculine expression of Venus. For Mercury, we have Gemini being the masculine expression. We have Virgo being the feminine expression. We have Jupiter, where Sagittarius is the masculine, Pisces is the feminine. Saturn, we have Capricorn being the feminine, Aquarius being the masculine. Now, for the outer planets, because of the fact in traditional astrology they don't consider Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, I would just say that Uranus would be both the masculine and feminine expression of Aquarius in modern astrology. Neptune, that being the masculine and feminine for Pisces, and then Pluto for Scorpio, that'd be the masculine and feminine. Though Scorpio, Pisces, they're both feminine signs by nature, and then Aquarius is masculine by nature as well. But of course, if you're talking about masculinity and femininity, of course, we're not talking about gender. We are talking about just energy. We're going to look towards the traditional planets because they give a better outlook towards the expression of the planets. So moving on to the house rulers or the planetary rulers, I did write a little song for you to remember the first house and where your placements may sit. So when I'm talking about the chart ruler, like for instance, if your chart ruler is in the 5th house, that would be first in the 5th. If it's in the first house, it would be first in the 1st. If it's in the 2nd, it would be first in the 2nd. So I did write a little song. That way you can get used to knowing, what the energy would kind of be like. Of course, we're going to go through each and every house. And if you have any questions at the end, feel free to let me know. But first in the 1st is iconic at best. First in the 2nd gets tough. First in the 3rd needs effort from self. First in the 4th gives love. First in the 5th needs confidence to grow. First in the 6th, not easy. First in the 7th is farthest away. First in the 8th, not pleasing. First in the 9th brings fortune in life. First in the 10th overcomes. First in the 11th brings gains in friendship. First in the 12th hides, we're done. All right, so let's go through each and every house. That way we kind of get the feel for what the energy is going to bring. Now, I just want to make note before I continue on. The first and the 7th, that is farthest away because of the fact that it is forming the opposition. So anytime when I say farthest away, I want you guys to think opposition in your heads, okay? So we're starting with the first house ruler in the first house. Some attributes will be driven, independent, passionate, impulsive, assertive, dominant energy, especially if Mars or the Sun are here, okay? So major focus is going to be on relationships, partnerships, interpersonal connection, business contracts. Remember, that is going to be the farthest point, the 7th house, that natural opposition to the first. So that is going to be the focus of anybody that has the first house ruler within the first house, okay? That is that natural opposition. It is what it's focused on. Now, the karma of this house would be 10 places from itself. So 10 places from the first house would be, in this case, of course, the 10th house, which it means that the career, status, legacy, government, the father figure even could be karmic. There could be some obstacles and challenges here, but you definitely have the energy to overcome here. Then fulfillment would be 4 places from itself. So 4th places from the first house would be the 4th house. And this means that fulfillment can come through family, home, processing feelings and your emotions, really getting into channeling your authenticity, listening to your intuition. Also, the mother figure here can definitely bring some fulfillment and joy and bliss into your life as well. Challenges can definitely come through siblings, cousins, communication, mindset, community, your immediate environment as well. Challenges will always represent 3 places from itself. Anytime when you see challenges in a chart, self-effort will always be required here, okay? Now, we are going to add a few extra indicators in here for the first house. That way you can really get the feel. We're going to talk about gains and losses as well. Now, when we're talking about gains, we want to look 11 places from itself. Why 11 places? Because in the 11th house in astrology represents the houses of gains, the houses of rewards. All right. And so 11 places from the first house, of course, is the 11th house of gains, rewards. So that's where you can gain. And of course, through friends, groups, networks, organizations, and the execution of future endeavors. Now, when we're talking about losses, we want to look towards 2 places here. We want to look towards the 8th house, especially if you're working with sidereal or Vedic astrology. And then you want to look towards the 12th house, because the 12th house is the natural house of loss, natural house of endings. So of course you want to look towards both those houses. The 8th house will be more of a transformative loss. It may be more of a loss through death and rebirth. It's more that transformation energy. Whereas that 12th house is more like, what's next for me? What's next for me? Spiritually, on a soul level, what comes next? All right. We're going to move on to the first house ruler in the 2nd house here. Some attributes would be valuable, beautiful, sensual, stubborn, materialistic, and sometimes be lazy. I know this can sound a bit cliche, but these are just some attributes that that these natives may embody. Of course, you want to pay attention to the planet that rules this sign, because those are going to come with their own qualities themselves. But a main focus for anybody that does have the chart ruler in their 2nd house, it's going to be transformation, deep experiences, deep healing, karmic debts that they may be paying off. It's not an easy placement, I'm not going to lie, if you have the first chart of your chart ruler in the 8th house or the first house ruler in the 2nd, because it throws that aspect. This is where the major focus is going to be. Also gaining occult knowledge. The 8th house is the house of occult knowledge, that deep wisdom that you are meant to share with others. Okay? Now, karma could be found through friends, groups, networks, organizations. It can be found in that 11th house. Why? Is because the first house ruler being in the 2nd house, 10 places from that itself will be the 11th house. So this will come with challenges, will come with struggle, but you have the energy to overcome it, especially if you have Mars here. Now, I will say that malefic placements here in the 2nd house may throw an indication towards delays or frustration in regards to material accumulation, but it does get better over a span of time. All right. Now, I do see that here that the fulfillment will also come through children, education, self-expression, romance. Fulfillment, 4 places from the 2nd house would would be the fifth house. And so I will say here, if in the case that your fifth house may be afflicted, children could actually be some sort of a hindrance. It will bring fulfillment, but this could come with a bit of challenge here if it is afflicted. Now, challenges, as I said, self-effort will be required with the challenges. This will come through home, family, feelings, emotion, authenticity, channeling that intuition. Family, that fourth house is actually 3 places from the second house. So self-effort, will be required here. Some gains and losses, if we're talking about gains from the second house, 10 places would be the 11. 11 will be that 12th house there. So the 12th house, though it is a house of endings and loss, it also rules spiritual development, establishing that connection with the universe and trusting in the unknown. So when the second house ruler goes into the 12th house here, which by the way, we are using each 3 of the charts, each way that you may see that. You see these charts here, I'm going to point to them here. You see these charts more in sidereal and Vedic astrology, and then you see this middle chart in tropical astrology. But I will say that with these placements, when the second house, when the first house ruler is in the second house and it is 11 places from itself, spiritual development is where you can gain the most, establishing that connection with the universe. It may not be easy because you will come across energy that may not have your purest intention at heart, but this is where you can get your gains and your rewards from the universe, okay? Losses, indicated losses can come through the 9th house, your fortune in life, your father's side, your father's family in a sense as well. Religion, your philosophy, your belief system. This can be where transformation happens. Death and rebirth. You're constantly evolving within your beliefs. Now, this can also be seen with the first house of self, identity, independence, taking action towards your life's direction, giving back to yourself through self-nourishment. This can be where karmic dealings can be, where you could be clearing some karmic debts as well. All right, let's go to the first house ruler in the 3rd house here. Now, this is the house of self-efforts. It's also the house of siblings, cousins, your immediate environment. I forgot that I didn't explain the houses in first. So the first house is the house of self-identity, independence, life direction, taking action towards that, and giving back to yourself through self-nourishment. The second house is self-worth, self-value, your immediate family, material possession, giving back to yourself through self-replenishment. And now we're on to the 3rd house here, the 3rd house being I think. So it's all about the mind, communication, developing your skills, as well as becoming curious about mundane knowledge. It's also self-effort, self-desire. It is the desire of the ego. It is the lower octave of that 5th house. So Gemini is actually, 3rd from the 3rd would be Leo or the 5th house. And so the lower octave would be the 3rd house or Gemini. So a major focus is going to be on higher education, life's deeds, perhaps your father's side of the family, spiritual practices, luck, abundance, knowledge, perhaps higher knowledge or spiritual knowledge. This can even represent post-secondary education as well. And so this is your desire. This is your opposition point. So you're yearning towards that as well. But when you're in that 3rd house, you want to become curious. You don't want to take every bit of information on as fact, okay? But the karma will come through foreign land, spiritual pursuits, solitude, trusting in the unknown. Why? Is because 10 places from the 3rd house is your 12th house. And so endings can also come here karmically. So say for instance, if you're in a karmic relationship per se, this may come to an end out of nowhere. That could be the karma that you are paying off if your first house ruler may be in the 3rd house, especially if this is with Venus per se. But this is just an example. This is not written in stone or anything like that, okay? On to the fulfillment. Fulfillment comes through routine, schedule, collecting data, being of service, really focusing on your mundane responsibilities, as well as your personal development, your physical health. Fulfillment comes through the 6th house. It is 4 places from the 3rd house. And so this is where, if you have this placement, this can actually bring a lot of joy in your life. This can bring a lot of joy, especially within your day-to-day too, okay? Moving on to the challenges. Challenges can come through children, self-expression, having fun, education, going out on adventure, love and romance as well. Especially if this is afflicted, this can definitely come with challenge, but self-effort is required. It's 3rd from the 3rd. So this is going to be the 5th house. This is what we call in Vedic astrology the Bhavat Bhavam, when it's 3rd from the 3rd. This can actually be a good thing, but at the same time, this can bring challenges, so self-effort will be required. Of course, you're going to need, it's going to get better with time because you are developing your skills. skills in this arena too. But with gains and losses, so gains and losses here, if 10 places from itself would be the 12th house, then 11 places would be the first house. So you can really gain from the universe and gain some rewards from just being yourself, really focusing on your identity, your independence, as well as taking action towards your life direction, giving back to yourself through self-nourishment, becoming more self-aware. This is going to bring in the gains for you, whereas the losses are going to be from your career, status, legacy, life's work. This is going to be more the transformative loss where you're evolving yourself, and this is going to be in front of the masses, in front of the live studio audience. And then you also want to look at 12 places from the third house, which is the second house. So material income, money could actually be karmic. It can come with some karma here. Worth and value, establishing that as well could be karmic, may not have your purest intention, but can also help with spiritual development in this sense. But this may come with some karmic endings and some karmic loss as well. All right, we are moving on. We're actually making some good time here. With the first house ruler in the fourth house, this is all about your home, your family, your immediate feelings here. But really, it's all about channeling your authenticity, processing your intuition, listening to your intuition as well. This is your nurture, your care, what brings you that bliss, that joy in life, okay? Now, this is not the joy of saying in the fifth house where you're just, recreation, free. This is more the foundation of your chart. And when the first house ruler is actually here, these individuals actually may like to be at home a lot. Very family-oriented individuals. They may like to work from home as well, too. Major focus is going to be on career, status, legacy, life's work, making a name for themselves as well. Now, these individuals tend to be very original, too, is because with the fourth house, it tends to bring that original energy, that authentic energy. And when you bring that into the 10th house, this can be really great for their career. It could be a hindrance, though, if it's afflicted, if Mars or Saturn are throwing aspects, or if Mars or Saturn are your chart ruler in the fourth house here too. Now, I also will say here that if Saturn is afflicting here, this may cause issues with the father figure, and it can also cause issues with the mother figure as well. All right. But karma can come through self-independence, the physical body, life direction, and new beginnings. So karma, 10 places from the fourth house would be the first house. And so first house would be where obstacles and challenges may be. If you have this placement here, getting to know who you are, why you're here, where you belong. This can be themes, especially if you have the moon placement. I know I have the moon placement myself in this position. And so figuring out who you are, why you're here, what you want to do with your life may be a little bit of a struggle, but of course you have the energy to overcome that. All right. Fulfillment does come through the spouse, marriage, interpersonal connection, business contracts, union as well. So fulfillment is 4 places from itself. We have another Bhavat Bhavam. Fourth from the fourth would be the 7th house. And so 7th house is really going to be where these natives can enjoy themselves and really kind of release the weight of the world per se. This is where they can really kick back, and they could do this with another person. This could be a business partnership, a romantic spouse as well, whatever that may be for this person. Now, I will say here, if the moon is actually your chart ruler in the 4th house, and it is in that 7th house, you want to watch for any affliction in that 7th house. Saturn here, Saturn actually does well in the 7th house, but can bring delays, and it can bring some karmic relationships here too. But I will say that if in the case that it's not afflicted, it's usually smooth sailing from there. Let's see here. Challenges can actually come through routine, schedule, collecting data, being of service, criticism, disputes, and enemies. And so the challenges would be 3 places from the 4th house. That would be the 6th house there. So self-effort is required, especially in their day-to-day. So a plan is going to be needed, really paying attention to the mundane responsibilities, really putting forth that effort to really stick with a specific routine or schedule that you are a part of. That way you can get things done in your day-to-day. Now, if in the case that it is afflicted here, this actually does great for the native here. If you have Mars or Saturn in the 6th house, if you have any malefics in the 6th house, that actually does great with enemies, especially Mars in the 6th. It's that planetary joy. Saturn in the 6th does make it work. It could cause illness here. It is a significator of the 6th house, but Mars does tend to do better. But any malefic here will get put to work in in the sixth house per se. But if you natives have the first house ruler in the fourth and they do have malefics in the sixth, this can actually be very beneficial to them. It won't be so much of a challenge, but rather something that they just need to get done. Gains and losses here. So in regards to gains, if karma comes through self-independence, that first house, the gains will come through the second house, which is actually very pivotal if in the case that you do have a moon here. So gains will come through material possession. They will come through your worth. They will come through your value. Your immediate family may also be of assistance. They may give you things as well. And also material security may also be a gain here as well too. Self-replenishment, giving back to yourself will also be applicable for those gains as well. Self-esteem, eating habits are also going to be something that could be great. There could be a gain, could be a reward. You could also attract wealth here as well. Now the losses, since we have the losses here, the losses can actually come through, for instance, if the focus is on career status, reputation, the losses are actually going to come through friends, groups, networks, organizations. These individuals may beat to their own drum for a large majority of their time, or I would say before their Saturn return per se. They may be, I wouldn't call them the loners, but they may like to do things by themselves, or they may get used to doing things by themselves after a while. So I will say that the transformation is really going to come through friends, groups, networks, and organizations. Even the execution of your future endeavors. These individuals may be obsessed over their future. They may all overthink what's going to happen, what am I meant to do, or how am I going to execute my future endeavors. It's really important not to over obsess here. If afflicted, this could indicate some karmic dealings. It could also indicate some challenges in regards to your future or getting things executed. You also want to look at 12 places from the fourth house, which is the third house, your house of self-effort, siblings, cousins, your immediate environment, becoming curious about mundane knowledge as well. It's also speaking about communication, developing your skills, if I haven't already said that. But there could be endings, there could be hidden enemies that could come out as well. But you could develop yourself spiritually. You could develop your communication skills as well as really get some ideas in regards to what the universe may be to you. That's a few examples of how that may manifest, okay? We are moving on to the fifth house. First house ruler in the fifth house here. Now, the fifth house is all about recreation, having fun, shining your light, building up your confidence, as well as expressing yourself, going on adventure, focusing on love and romance, as well as procreation, children. This is also a great placement for the teachers, as well as being a student of life as well. It is ninth from the ninth, so they could be a teacher as well as a student. They can attract a lot of students as well and really create their own audience from there, just as long as they don't make it all about them. All right, major focus is going to be on innovative ideas, friends, groups, networks, organizations as well. These individuals can even be very humanitarian, like they yearn to progress society in some way or make an impact on the collective in somewhat way. But it is really important here that these individuals watch for chaotic tendencies, especially if afflicted, okay? Karma does come through early childhood, the immediate family, personal income, self-worth, value, and replenishment, giving back to self. So 10 places from the fifth house will be that second house there. So it is really important here that challenges will definitely come. The universe will tend to test your patience a lot. So you really need to ask yourself when enough is enough. This will help you to further establish your worth and value, as well as help you to overcome any karmic dealings that you may have pertaining to the second house here. Okay? And then fulfillment is going to come through intimacy, vulnerability, transformation, and deep healing, inheritance, even going below the surface. So of course, we find fulfillment 4 places from itself. 4 places from the fifth house would be the eighth house. And so Scorpio and Leo actually have this energy similar. It's reproduction versus procreation. The procreation side's more fun. It has more intent and purpose, whereas the reproduction side comes with the intimacy, the vulnerability, comes with that actual connection. So one comes with fun, one comes with the realness of the connection, the reality of what that connection is going to be. And this is where if these natives actually thrive, if in the case that everything is good, if it's not afflicted. If in the case that it is afflicted, especially if Saturn is here or is aspecting the eighth house in somewhat way, you really want to focus on any control issues, letting go of what no longer is letting go of what no longer is in your control, letting go of the things that kind of need to fizzle out per se. If Mars is here, you definitely don't want to rush through your healing journey. You don't want to rush into certain things because this can be very transformative here. But for the most part, these individuals gain fulfillment by going below the surface, gaining that occult knowledge as well. All right. And then we have the challenges. So the challenges will come through relationships, partnerships, interpersonal connection, marriage, spouse, business contracts here. So the challenges will be 3 places from itself. The 7th house may serve as a challenge. Of course, self-effort is required. This is just because these individuals tend to be in the playful energy. Attributes will be confident, expressive, creative. Sometimes could be egotistical, depending on the planet that is there. But I will say here that these individuals will sometimes be in the playful energy, and they may not know when to be serious, but these individuals do tend to be loyal when they do commit to somebody, which is why they gain fulfillment in the 8th house, but partnerships, relationships of any type can actually be a challenge for them. So it is really important for them to sometimes put their ego to the side, check it at the door, and really reevaluate what that dynamic may be. All right, gains and losses. So if karma is found through early childhood, the immediate family, personal income, self-replenishment through that 2nd house, then the 11th house, 11th from itself will be that 3rd house, the 3rd house of siblings, cousins, your immediate environment. This is where you're going to gain your gains of communication, developing your skills. Perhaps maybe you get some ideas on how to really innovate or execute any future endeavors that you may have for yourself. Or perhaps maybe you come up with some innovative way to really share information with other people based off of what you've learned as well. Remember, the 3rd house is mundane knowledge, whereas the 9th house is higher knowledge as well. So you want to find that balance. It is all axis work. And so you can gain some gains and rewards within those 3rd house. Even siblings, cousins can give you some gains as well. And then your losses. So your losses here can definitely come through 8 places from the 5th house. Let's see here. So if fulfillment, the focus is innovative ideas, the transformation is actually going to come through spiritual development, establishing that connection with the universe, trusting in the unknown, really fizzling things out, the endings, the loss as well, hidden enemies. This could be very transformative. Or perhaps the spiritual journey itself can be very evolving for the individual. May not be the easiest, especially if afflicted. Now, also, 12 places from the 5th will be the 4th house. Family may feel a bit karmic here. Family may not really have your best intentions at heart, although they may say, oh, we just want the best for you, but they may not know what the best may be for you is. So it is really important here that you find the spiritual balance within your family. Also, your intuition could be very karmic, so it is important for these individuals to listen to your intuition, because it's only when you don't listen to it that you find yourself in those reckless energy or those reckless situations there. It's also really important here. So karmic individuals could also be found in the family, or people that are close to you, people that are within your home. Doesn't necessarily have to be biological family. This could be chosen family. This can be guardianships. Whoever is in your home, your ancestry, it could be a karmic ancestry as well. Not to scare anybody or any individuals, but this could just be a setback per se. But this is not going to stop you from achieving anything or your goals at all per se. Let's see here. We have the 1st house ruler in the 6th house. The 6th house is mundane responsibilities, work schedule, routine around personal development and physical health. This also speaks to your day-to-day activities, being of service to others, helping others as well. And so these individuals do tend to be service-oriented, analytical, practical as well, could be critical, I'm not going to lie, to themselves and to others. So it is very important that we do watch that. These individuals do or may have a tone of delivery that could be off-putting to other people, but that has nothing to do with them. It's more to do with the other people, because it talks about the things that they need to reevaluate as well. All right, so a major focus is going to be on spiritual development, the subconscious mind, things that are hidden, the energetic boundaries that we may need to set up, losses and endings as well. So that major focus is going to be on that 12th house energy. So it is really important for these individuals to have a connection with the universe, to really establish some sort of spiritual development fulfillment for themselves and establish a trust in the unknown, because there are going to be certain things that happen or along their path that are going to get them to where they want to be. Since their focus is on the 12th house, the 12th house also rules our dreams, also rules our vision, what we want to, bring into this world and really do to this world on a grand scale. And so it is really important for these individuals, as I said, to have that connection with the universe. If it's afflicted, it may come with a bit of delay, could be a little bit frustrating, but for the most part, I will say that this house naturally comes with conflicts. This house does come with some disputes, because this is the house of major weaknesses here. What do I mean by major weaknesses? It is the things that we know are not our strengths. And so, for instance, if it is Mars, it could be irritability, impulsivity, it could be impatience. If it's Venus, it could be sensuality, sexuality, overindulgence. Jupiter here tends to purify our weaknesses. Moon here does too. Saturn could be working, could be authority figures, could be your weakness as well. People telling you what to do, The Sun, it can also be authority figures, but it's usually a father figure as well. Father figure I can also see for Saturn here too, but so on and so forth. Let's see here. Karma could be found through siblings, cousins, the immediate environment, community, communication, the mind, and self-effort. So of course, when we're talking about self-efforts, we are talking about that third house. So karma is going to be found in the third house for these individuals. So siblings and cousins could definitely come with that karmic feel. But for the most part, these individuals do have the energy to overcome these things, especially those who do have Saturn and Mars as their chart ruler in the 6th house. This can come with a little bit of affliction here. This can come with a little bit of obstacle and a little bit of delay, but I will say it does get better with time. Any placements that are in the 3rd, the 6th, the 10th, and the 11th house, they're referred to in Vedic astrology as the Upacha houses. And so they deal with skill and longevity, the things that you need time to improve and progress. And so any placements that are in the 6th house, the 10th, the 11th, or the 3rd, they get better with time. So the karma for these individuals does progress over time. Could be good, could be bad, but for the most part, these individuals naturally have the energy to overcome it. Why? Is because their energy is evolving over time, okay? Fulfillment will come through expansion, the paternal lineage, finding a philosophy, travel, higher education, fortune as well. Could also be a belief system, doesn't necessarily have to be spiritual here. Fulfillment is going to come 4 places from the 6th house, that is the 9th house there. So any planets that are in the 9th house, very fortunate energy, though if afflicted can come with delay or frustration. So if in the case that Mars or Saturn are ruling your 6th house here, it is really important to find a philosophy, a meaning of life, a belief system, doesn't necessarily have to be spiritual. And expanding on that, this will bring you fulfillment. It will also help you to make meaning of what your life means as well. All right. And then we have challenges. Challenges are going to come through intimacy, vulnerability, transformation, crisis, sudden events, inheritance, other people's resources. This can also be other people's karma too. Challenges will come through that 8th house. And so that's going to be self-effort. So, self-effort is required. Excuse me. Self-effort is going to be required for these natives here. And it's not really an easy placement. I'm not going to lie to you. When you're looking at the challenges here, is because you're going from one malefic house to the other. So it is going to be really important that you prioritize your healing journey despite the transformative events that may take place. And you may find that wisdom comes from this. And so you can be of service to others by sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience, sharing your journey as well, especially if you have Jupiter and Mercury here too. All right. Gains and losses. So if we're talking about gains, for instance, if karma comes through siblings, cousins, the immediate environment, gains are going to come through your family, your home, processing your feelings and your emotions, listening to that intuition is going to be very, very, very powerful for you. You can actually gain a lot of information through observation as well. So it is really important here. You were given a gift. For those that were in that 6th house here, you guys may have that gut feeling. You guys may have an instinctual feel that something could be off or something is coming. Definitely lean into that, listen to that, because that is where you can gain your rewards from the universe as well. Now, as for losses, if focus is on spiritual development, the losses are definitely going to come through yourself, your identity, your independence, as well as taking action towards your life direction, giving back to yourself through self-nourishment. Now, this is not, as I said, this is not a major loss. This is more of a transformation. So getting to know yourself, really getting on your path, doing what it is that you would like to do, it is going to be very transformative. You may not be the same person that you were 5 years ago now. Of course, none of us are. We are always ever changing. But it is really important for these individuals. They yearn to be the better version of themselves. The sixth house is really how you can better your life for you. It is all about that personal development. And so the losses, or the transformation, I should say, is really going to be through the self. You're going to feel this transformation because it is hitting an angular house. And so you're going to feel those effects much more than people say in the second or the third, the fifth or the sixth. Those angular houses are foundational. So we're going to feel those a bit more here. Also, another loss, or the karmic endings. The karmic losses can come through children. They can come through having fun, expressing your life, self-expression, being confident as well. This is more of a spiritual development thing. So really developing yourself spiritually through having fun or going on adventures through children, learning through children will actually be very important for these individuals as well. If in the case that they choose to have children, children here can also be a karmic for them in a good or a bad sense, depending on what placement may be there. But I always think that children are a blessing. But I will say here also, love affairs, romances, that can also be karmic as well. So definitely be careful, especially if afflicted. Then we have the first house ruler in the seventh house here. So these people are naturally harmonious, very balanced as well, very business driven. Watch out for people pleasing for anybody that has these placements. Especially if it's Venus, the moon. Watch out for the people-pleasing energy, because these individuals do have a tendency to put other people before themselves. So it is really important that we're watching for people pleasing and having that relationship with the self. That's why the major focus is going to be on self-awareness, independence, the self, identity, appearance, the physical body, self-nourishment, giving back to ourselves, taking action towards what we want to do in life as well. All right. So there needs to be that balance. Having that connection with the self is going to be very, very pivotal here for these individuals. Karma will come through home, family, the maternal lineage, intuition, feelings. Real estates can also be karmic for these individuals, and authenticity, trying to find who they are to their core. All right, so it is really important for these individuals here that they do have the energy to overcome it, but I keep saying it, a key theme here, listen to your intuition. Your intuition will be your saving grace. It will get you through the karma. You will be able to overcome any struggle or any challenge that may present itself, especially if the moon is here, if there is any aspects with the moon being made to the fourth house, or if the moon is ruling your seventh house. It is really important to listen to your intuition here, okay? But if it is afflicted, this can also mean that this could be, like, for instance, if it's Saturn, Saturn can bring that karmic feel to the family per se. It can also mean that family could have been very strict. Family definitely could have been harsh. It could have been a very harsh upbringing. The relationship with the mother may not be as loving and as nurturing as you would want it to be. That may be restricted. If it's Mars, this could come with frustration, tension, a bit of conflict, a lot of rage per se. Could come with aggression as well. So it is really important here that we are tapping into our own selves, our own intuition, and not really giving in to the challenges that may be presenting itself, because you could be clearing some karmic debt here. And then fulfillment can come through career status, legacy, life's work, recognition, success, fame. All right. So these people are really into their careers. It is just important that they don't over obsess with it as well. If it's Saturn here, there could be challenges and struggle at the beginning, but of course it does get better with time. It's actually a very pivotal place to have Saturn. I believe that Saturn in the seventh house does great. You know, of course, these individuals do feel Saturn more so than those that are in the fixed houses or the mutable houses or the cadent or the succedent, if you will. But I do feel like Saturn does do well in this setting if Saturn is here. Of course, you are going to have that Saturnian restriction and you're going to go through those lessons, but I do feel as though that it does pan out well. If Mars is here and it is throwing that aspect to the 10th house, it is really important that we don't rush through any business dealings, all right? But for the most part, fulfillment could be found through the career status, legacy, and life's work. Then we have challenge challenges 3 places from itself. That would be the 9th house, can come from the paternal lineage, your father's side of the family, past life deeds, expansion, higher education, philosophy, belief systems, spiritual practices, teachers, guru, and fortune as well. And so self-effort, of course, is going to be required here. Though it is a fortunate energy, it is going to require you to stay optimistic, open-minded, really figure out what the meaning of life means to you. That is going to be very, very important. And of course, it's going to take effort on your part if you have this placement. Gains and losses. So we're going to start with the gains. If karma is gained through the home, the family, the gains, if karma is gained through the home and family, then the gains are going to be coming in through children. So if these individuals actually have children, they can gain through children. If it's Venus, it could be wealth. If it is the moon, it could be emotional fulfillment. If it is Saturn, it can be lessons per se, but it can be the gifts that last for a very, very long time. Nonetheless, I will say the gains here could be having really enjoying life. You're going out and really enjoying it, doing anything that is of recreation, really going out on adventure, focusing on love. This could be romantic per se. If in the case that you are in a partnership of some sort, this can even be beneficial for establishing your confidence, building up your confidence, really expressing yourself, shining your light, okay? And not dimming it because of other people's projection. I said what I said, all right? But I also will say now the losses, or the transformation and the spiritual losses, I should say, the spiritual development, all right? Because a loss is always a gain, I should say that, all right? So if the focus is on self-awareness, independence, identity, that first house, the transformation is going to come through money matters, material possession, establishing that worth and value, and giving back to yourself through self-replenishment, okay? A lot of transformation here. Definitely ask yourself when enough is enough if things get tough, okay? Now, I will say with the 2nd house here, the 2nd, the 7th, and the 8th, they're death-inflicting houses. They're called the Maraka houses in Vedic astrology here. So I would say just be careful with this placement here. Don't over-obsess with money. This can cause money blockages, all right? Also, if Saturn is here, there could be natural restriction. If Jupiter is here, if Jupiter's throwing an aspect here, definitely watch for frivolous spending, okay? Because this can really be transformative. And then the other spiritual development or the endings, the karmic endings and the loss can be found through the 6th house. Definitely pay attention to your health for these individuals, especially if Saturn is here or if you're having aspects to Saturn with this placement, all right? Because of the fact that Saturn is the natural significator of the 6th house and it does rule ailments, sicknesses. And so if it's having any interaction with that 6th house, especially if you have this placement, this can cause some health issues, so definitely pay attention to that as well. You could definitely develop yourself spiritually through your day-to-day, so you can focus on your physical and spiritual health. It is important that these individuals do set up energetic boundaries in their day-to-day. That way they're not taking on other people's energy, and it's not draining their energy as well. First house ruler in the 8th house, it is not an easy walk in the park. It is very transformative. Of course, it's the house of transformation, death, sex, taxes, rebirth. It's also going below the surface, accepting the darker aspects of life. This also does rule other people's fill in the blank. This could be resources, inheritance, karma, whatever that may mean. You are taking on other people's things. So it may not even start with you, but it will finish with you. All right. And so some of the attributes, of course, transformative, powerful, truthful. Of course, I hate to be cliche, but people definitely call these individuals intimidating, though I find that these are some of the nicest individuals around, all right? So major focus for them are going to be on their immediate family, personal income, self-worth, value, and self-replenishment as well. So they're trying to get the bag, okay? They're going to get the bag. They're going to get the money, all right? That's what they are after. But it is really important for these individuals not to over-obsess, okay? Because obsession is going to be a very key indicator for this house, and they really want to move away from obsession and form a healthy detachment towards money, towards their immediate family. Really be there for them, show up in the way that you would, but definitely take a step back. That way we're not over obsessing or we're not overly attaching ourselves to the physical realm. All right. Then we also have karma. So karma is going to come through self-confidence, having fun, love, romance as well. 10 places from the 8th house would be that 5th house there. And so children can definitely be karmic here. And I will say here that this tends to be like the surprise pregnancy per se. They didn't know that they were expecting. So it is really important here that these people are safe when they are going out and having fun, if you know what I mean. All right. So it is really important. Children here can also be karmic. Love, romance can also be karmic as well. Building up their confidence and expressing themselves may be a challenge for them, but they will definitely overcome it because these individuals then tend to step into their power within their 20s or after their Saturn return, depending on what does happen. But these individuals tend to go through a lot of transformation, so it tends to be earlier than most individuals. But if it's Saturn, it will come with that delay aspect, okay? If it's Mars, be sure not to rush to step into your power because that can lead to more transformative experiences. And I'm sure that you wouldn't want to go through all those transformative experiences, okay? Let's see here. And then we have our fulfillment. So fulfillment's going to come through friends, network circles, innovative ideas, beating to one's own drum, hopes and wishes. So, of course, fulfillment is 4 places from itself. 4 places from the 8th house is that 11th house. These individuals really care about their friends, sometimes more than their family. That's the tea. Anyway, it is really important for these individuals, of course, not to over-obsess over their friends, groups, networks, or organizations. But these individuals do find fulfillment when they think about their future, when they're focusing on executing any endeavors towards their future as well. These individuals can actually gain because of that, and that can cause some fulfillment for them as well, can bring them some bliss and joy. Then we have the challenges, of course, that can come through career, status, legacy, life's work, authority figures, and fame, the government even. Okay, so I will say if there's any issues with the government, self-effort is going to be required. But the only issue why they have issues with career status, it's mainly the masses, is because, of course, they're just being their pure selves, or they're just being themselves, but people don't really understand, especially if they're not healed. They may not understand where these natives may be coming from. So that's where the intimidating or, oh, they're so intense is coming from, is because if in the case that people are not healing, these natives, these individuals here are holding up an unconscious mirror that are triggering other people's unhealed wounds. So people have a choice to either heal or project, and sometimes, or 9 out of 10 times, I'll say, people tend to project. So it's really important for these individuals not to take on the projection from other people, okay? Also, let's see here, the gains and losses. So let's talk about gains. If karma comes through the expression of self, confidence, having fun, love, and romance, the gains are going to come through your day-to-day events, mundane responsibilities, your physical health, personal development. This actually may be very beneficial for you here, really focusing on your day-to-day, just as long as you don't overwork yourself, especially if you have Mars or Saturn throwing an aspect here. Just as long as you don't overwork yourself, everything will work out just fine for you here. It'll actually give you gains towards your future. It'll even help you to execute any future endeavors. These individuals may tend to work for themselves, especially if they have Mars here. I've even seen it with Saturn a couple of times, but just be sure, as I said, not to over-obsess over your future or your day-to-day events as well. Then losses. So I shouldn't say losses. Maybe I should just say transformation and spiritual development, but it is a karmic loss in a sense. Anyway, moving on. So if in the case that the focus is on immediate family, personal income, worth, value, self-replenishment, that karma or that transformation per se is going to happen through that 3rd house, communication, the mind, siblings, cousins, your immediate environment, becoming curious of mundane knowledge as well. So this may be the reason why Scorpio and Geminis don't really like each other. It is 8th from the 8th. It is a Bhavat Bhavam. And so these individuals, so Gemini is actually the higher expression of Scorpio, but I just don't get why they don't like each other, because they don't have anything in common, because I know different element, different modality, but they're the higher expression of one another. So I don't know. I personally don't understand it. I'm a Scorpio myself, but anyway, moving on. That 3rd house there is going to be very transformative for them. So building up or developing their communication. Now, naturally, if you're a Scorpio ascendant, you have Capricorn in the 3rd house. So this is definitely a house that is going to be ongoing lessons, and it is going to get better over a span of time. But if in the case that you just have the 1st house ruler in the 8th house and it has that Saturnian influence, definitely watch for gossip. Definitely watch for spreading misinformation, especially if it is about people or things that are important, because of the fact that that will come back to you full circle, and it will be very intense. It will be very unexpected, very sudden, and we wouldn't want that for yourself. Mars here, just watch for the, just speaking without thinking before you do that, okay? Same thing. It won't be as karmic as Saturn, but it can definitely be frustrating or can cause some conflict here as well. And let's move on to the, oh, actually, I did not say the 12th house or the 12th from the 8th. So 12th from the 8th will be the 7th house. That'll be relationships, partnerships, interpersonal connection, business contracts. So that 7th house being 12th from the 8th, you could come in contact with a lot of karmic relationships. So it is important for these individuals to really pay attention to who is for them, who is not for them, really pay attention to their spiritual development as well in regards to relationships. Pay attention to if these individuals really merge with you. I will say that these individuals do yearn for that soulmate-like connection, or they may yearn for a deeper connection, you know, somebody who is not afraid of the darker aspects of life. So that may help them navigating through relationships because not everybody is for them. All right. And for the first house ruler in the 9th house, we have 3 more houses after this, and then I'm going to take questions, okay? So for the first house ruler in the 9th house is a very jovial house because it deals with what is the meaning of our lives, our philosophy, our belief systems, travel, expansion, luck, abundance, opportunity as well. It does deal with the father's lineage. And so when the first house ruler is in the 9th house, it's a very, very, very fortunate energy. Now, if it's Saturn or Mars, it could be afflicted. It could come with some delay, it can come with some frustration, but it usually still gives the fortune. Now, sometimes this could be ill fortune because this is all dependent on what we did in a past life or early on in life as well. So Saturn here will really give us the karmic attributes prior to giving us the blessing that will last, okay? But these individuals tend to be seen as lucky or open-minded or philosophical, abundant. Watch out for the arrogant energy, I will say, though, here too. Major focus is going to be on siblings, cousins, self-efforts, communication, community, and the mind as well. So they are focusing on that 3rd house. They have the experience. Now it's time to focus on gaining that intellect and the mundane knowledge as well. So these individuals, I tend to say that the 3rd and the 9th house is very opposite of each other because what you would expect for the 3rd house is actually what is done in the 9th house, and what is done in the 9th house is actually done in the 3rd, you know? So the 3rd house is really all about, you know, going around to other people, figuring out like what's their opinion and what their thought on a specific topic may be. The 9th house is kind of like that as well, but the 9th house is more along the lines of you're defining it for yourself, okay? And so with the influence of the 3rd house, it really helps you to form your own opinion. It really helps you to form your own thoughts on your own life and to see where your personal life is going. All right, karma could definitely come through physical health, routine schedules, daily responsibilities. 10th from the 9th house is the 6th. And so it is another placement for you to pay attention to your health here because there could be some challenges and obstacles, especially if it has a Saturnian aspect here, okay? Mars will tend to fight for your health in this sake, but I will say definitely still pay attention to your personal health. All right. And for fulfillment, I will say that fulfillment comes through foreign lands, spiritual development, the subconscious mind. 4 places from the 9th will be the 12th house. Both are traditionally ruled by Jupiter, so I think that's a plus. Traveling to foreign lands can even help these individuals to develop themselves spiritually as well as just I would say watch out for escapism, but I don't know really how to say it because I would just say taking a step away from reality and stepping into fantasy per se. I know that's I know it is escapism, but I would say if you do it in moderation, I don't see the issue in that per se. Let's see here. And also, I will say here, though fulfillment does come through the 12th house, this does not stop hidden enemies, karmic dealings from coming through. So I just wanted to keep that in mind. All right. Challenges can come through friends, network circles, humanitarianism, charities, innovative ideas as well. Self-effort's going to be required when you are focusing on your future endeavors. Okay. So when you're focused on friends, groups, networks, and organizations, this is all going to require self-effort on your behalf. Why is that? Now, it's actually pretty interesting because the 11th house, 11 from the 11th house is the 9th house. And so here you are actually the higher expression of the 11th house. So I kind of see it as this. These individuals see something within you. All right. So hopefully you see it within yourself, but watch for that arrogant energy. Okay. But self-effort is definitely going to be required. You can definitely gain a lot of information through your future, through your friends, groups, networks, and organizations. If you're part of that as well, you can even develop your skills here as well too, and utilize your skills to manifest whatever reality you're trying to manifest for yourself as well too. And then we have their gains and losses. And so, or the gains and the transformation and the spiritual development. All right. So first we're going to start with gains. If karma comes through physical health, gains are going to come through relationships, partnerships, interpersonal connection, business to business contracts. I think it's major. Other people are definitely going to be a reward for them because they're going to help them to further find meaning to their life, further find meaning to their belief system, to their truth as well. Now, this can also be great in a business setting as well, is because this can mean that gains can come through business partnerships, allies as well, people that definitely want to help you to build your business as well, or kind of invest in your business too. This can be an expansive business since the ruler is in the 9th house, or there's a Jupiter aspect to this as well. But let's see here. Then the transformation. So if transformation focuses on siblings, cousins, your transformation is going to come through home, family, as well as processing feelings and emotions as well. Now, these individuals, Sagittarius is kind of, they have a reputation of not processing their emotions, yet they are exalted in Cancer. So it is only when they process their feelings and their emotions that they don't run away from them, as well as face any issues head on in regards to their feelings and their emotions, listening to their intuition, that they can evolve, that they can grow, get in alignment with their dharmic path. This is going to be transformative for them. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very intense at times too, especially because of probably of what they went through early on. It could have been very transformative. Some of these individuals could be generational curse breakers, so they may feel this unnecessary pressure to change the narrative of their ancestral line as well. All right, and that's why it could be seen as intense or transformative for these individuals. And then 12 places from itself, the endings, the losses, spiritual development as well can definitely be found through their healing journey, their transformative experiences. Occult knowledge can really help them to develop themselves spiritually as well too. All right, but I will say here, just be sure not to over obsess with intimacy, vulnerability, going below the surface. Don't over obsess with your healing journey too. Everything will definitely pan out for you. But I will say here that these individuals are naturally in alignment with their fortune, with their dharma per se. So doing their healing journey, really processing their emotions and their feelings will help them to just stay in alignment per se too. And it'll help them to manifest whatever life that they want to manifest for themselves. All right. And now, did it go back to the 6th house? Yes, it did. And now we are on to the 10th house. First house ruler being in the 10th house. Very ambitious placement. Yes, it is. These individuals get things done despite what is being done to them. It is a very karmic position to have. It is 10 places from itself. And so this can definitely bring those obstacles, those challenges natally to these individuals. But despite what they go through, they rise among the conflict and what is going on in their lives, and they make a name for themselves in the masses as well. Of course, it's not going to be easy, especially if Saturn is here. But Saturn gives the blessings that last, so I'm not mad about it if Saturn is here. Jupiter here just may overwhelm the native. Mars, just don't rush in business dealings. Don't rush through getting whatever it is that you would like to get done. The moon here, just be curious, or whatever you're doing within your career status, like I say in life's work, just be sure, not curious, but just be sure that you're doing something that emotionally fulfills you, okay? And then the sun, you can naturally gain a lot of attention on yourself. You don't have to put in that much effort for that to happen or to take place. Just be sure that we're not, seeking validation for the wrong reasons per se, because the 10th house will make you work. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. All right. So focus is going to be on home, family, feelings and emotions, your authenticity, intuition, and roots and foundations. Also the mother's lineage as well. So it is that farthest away point. It is that opposition. So they are focused on really sustaining their home, building a home, focusing on their family as well. They could be focused on the nurture. These individuals really need to listen to their intuition. Do not suppress your emotions, especially if you have Saturn here, okay? It's really important for you not to suppress any emotions, because this can really delay your success, because you definitely need to heal that, or really just get on the journey of healing that. You don't need to, I'm all healed and everything's all finished. You just need to really focus on facing those head on. Okay, and then karma will come through relationships, union, interpersonal connection, business contracts, marriage, and the spouse. Okay, so 10 places from the 10th, the pavam would be your 7th house there too. Now, I will say that blessings can actually come from this position once they overcome the challenges. So relationships, partnerships for them may not be easiest, but Saturn is exalted in Libra. It is exalted in that 7th house. It is actually the strongest energy there. So yes, it is going to come with those obstacles, but they may feel more like themselves because this is naturally where it's happening for them in the relationships, in business partnerships, in union with other people. Not saying that it's always going to be chaotic or it's always going to be, conflict. It's not always going to be that, but this is where your karma is going to be paid off and you naturally have the energy to overcome this. I personally think if Saturn is here, this is going to pay you out tenfold here too because Saturn is in the strongest position. All right. And then we have the fulfillment. So fulfillment's going to come through self, independence, awareness, your life's direction, physical body, giving back to yourself through self-nourishment, that first house, because it is 4 places from the 10th. So that's going to be the sense of fulfillment for you. Really paying attention to yourself, catering to your own path, not focusing on other people, because these people tend to be the people's person. All right. That's why it's so strong. That's why it's strongest in the 7th house, because they do for the collective. They like to be of service to other people as well, but they need to really focus on themselves and focus on what they want to do, because there could be the tendency here, and this is where the karma comes in, that they get too wrapped up in what other people want them to do that they forget to do for themselves. So when they're doing for themselves, that's what's going to bring them the emotional fulfillment, okay? And then we have the challenges, of course, that's going to come through the foreign land, spiritual development, the subconscious mind, karmic endings, and hidden enemies as well. So of course, 3 places from the 10th will be the 12th house. Self-effort is definitely required, especially when establishing that connection with the universe, trusting in the unknown, okay? But they can gain a lot of information when they establish that connection with the universe. They can definitely gain a lot of messages or communications through their subconscious mind. These individuals would benefit from paying attention from their through their dreams, especially if they have the moon, Neptune aspect to the 12th house. That will definitely benefit them that way, and it'll also help them to move forward on their journey, on their path. All right, so then we have the gains and the losses. So the gains and the losses. So we're going to start with gains. So karma comes through relationships, union, interpersonal connection. Gains come through your healing journey, transformation, going below the surface, accepting the darker aspects of life. If you're a Capricorn ascendant and you have this placement, this is where you shine. That 8th house is where Capricorns shine. It's where Leo is, okay? This is where they are most confident, is because amidst the sudden changes and the transformative experiences that happen, it helps them to step into their power. And so this could be a gain for these individuals here. This could actually help them to manifest any future endeavors that they may have for themselves as well. They can meet some friends through the things that they've been through. Because of the things that they've been through, they can meet some very powerful people here. So they may have some very powerful friends. All right. So I would not piss these individuals off. Absolutely not. All right. In regards to transformative energy, it focuses on the home family feelings. That transformative energy is going to come through children having fun, expressing themselves, building that confidence, shining their light, going on adventure, love, romance, procreation as well. So children for them definitely may transform who they are. So perhaps I kind of feel that it could come suddenly. For them, this may not be a planned event. So say, for instance, if it's not planned, it'll cause a massive transformation for these individuals as well. Love and romance may be transformative as well. For instance, a one-night stand can turn into a pregnancy. So definitely watch out for being safe. Definitely be safe around this area of life, but really having fun. If these individuals learn how to have fun, this will actually help them to step into their power, because these individuals are workaholics right along with the 6th house too. You know, the 10th house rules the career, status, legacy, life's work, but these individuals tend to overwork themselves and really put all their hours into the work, you know, so it is really important for these individuals to find the balance between having fun, really enjoy life, going on adventure, doing something that is giving them some sort of recreation, whatever that that may be for you. As long as you're not overdoing it, that's really what's going to transform these individuals here. And then 12 places from the 10th house is the 9th house. So spiritual development can really be found when you're finding the meaning of life, whatever that may mean to you, your specific lifestyle that best suits you, your philosophy, your belief system doesn't necessarily have to be spiritual here. But there could be some karmic teachers, gurus that may come along your path. So definitely watch out for that as well. Opportunities could be karmic, could be good, could be bad, depending on what planet is ruling this placement here. All right, Saturn here can bring some karma. Jupiter can bring some positive karma. Mars here may bring some frustration. Do not rush into any belief system or into a new philosophy unless you know all the information pertaining to whatever it is that you would like to get into, okay? And let's go on to the 11th house. Oh, one more. So the 11th house is all about friends, groups, networks, organizations, the execution of your future endeavors, not being afraid to beat your own drum, your quirkiness, the unconventionality as well. These individuals are very forward-thinking, very social, very intelligent too, because the 11th house also rules cosmic intelligence. Astrology could be found in the 11th house here too. So anybody with prominent 11th house placements, I wouldn't be, surprised if you guys ended up trying to be famous or doing your own thing. It does come with a lot of trial and error. I will say that. So if your chart ruler is in the 11th house, it is not just going to come to you instantly unless you got Jupiter there, but it's not going to come just effortlessly. You are going to have to put in the work because it is a Saturnian house traditionally, okay? Major focus is going to be on self-expression, confidence, creativity, fun, recreation, children, love, and romance. So that farthest away point, that opposition is going to be that 5th house there. And so it is really important here that if in the case that these individuals have children, that they pay attention to their children. They actually may have a good bond with their children, but their children may help them to balance out their racing mind or their racing thoughts, or really them focusing on their future endeavors as well. Also, as I said with the 10th house, these individuals learning how to have fun will help them to balance out their energy as well too. Okay? Karma can come through transformative experiences, crisis, intimacy, inheritance, vulnerability, going below the surface, letting go of what is no longer of use, no longer of service. All right. 10 places from the 11th house is the 8th house. And so their healing journey can be very karmic, could be very hard for them, can bring challenge. So it's really important for them to take their time, especially if Mars is here. Okay. Because these individuals, so Aquarius energy tends to go through it. And a lot of people don't understand the energy behind Aquarius or the 11th house, because the 11th house is the house of the gains, but they're meant to give of themselves, and that could be energetically draining, so they really need to prioritize their healing journey. This is where they can gain some more occult knowledge as well. They definitely have the energy to overcome it here too. Intimacy, vulnerability can also be something here that can be a hindrance for them, especially vulnerability, is because these individuals tend to be very observant. Now, I know Aquarius in the 11th house tend to get the rap of, they're very emotionally detached. They don't express their emotions. Despite popular belief, Aquarius especially, they are very emotional beings, but they're very observant to see if you are going to judge them for how expressive they are with their emotions. Remember, they're opposite of the 5th house, so they are expressive, okay? So I will say here that these individuals are very, very emotional beings, but vulnerability may be a hindrance to them is because they don't know where the other person is judgment-wise. So it may be hard for them, but they eventually overcome it and they don't really care, and they usually are emotional around the people that they care about, okay? But fulfillment for them is actually going to come through personal income, the immediate family, self-worth, value, and self-replenishment. These individuals, though, I will say, because fulfillment comes through that 2nd house, do not equate money to your worth and value. These individuals over time tend to equate their money to their worth and value, and they tend to go for more. So it is really important here to not do that. Also, to establish your worth and value by asking yourself when enough is enough, okay? Because this is really where your worth and value are going to come, and not just by how much money I have, or, my immediate family, or who knows me, or how, it's not about all those things. It's not all about the material things per se here, though. It does bring you fulfillment, I'm not gonna lie. It gives you the things that you want, but it's just important here that you don't equate money to your worth and value, okay? Challenges can come through independence, self-awareness, the physical body, life direction, self-nourishment, and appearance. And so here, the challenges, third from the 11th house, is the first house. Maybe a challenge to get to know who you are, why you're here, what you want to do with your life, okay? You are different for a reason. Don't be afraid to beat that drum there, all right? And this is mainly a challenge early in life, because I would say I feel as though that they come to a specific point where they say, you know what, I no longer have to go through this, or I no longer have to put up with certain things, or they just shut out the world entirely and they do their own thing, and then they end up being the trendsetter. So it can manifest in a variety of ways, but they usually pour back into themselves, and they usually end up doing something that has never been done before, or very few people know how to do, and then they end up being the trendsetter, and everybody, all of a sudden they're popular, and suddenly everybody wants to be their friend, but now they have that discernment to see who's for them and who's not for them as well. So self-effort is required when they're learning themselves and about their identity as well. But in regards to gains can definitely come if karma is through the transformative experiences, intimacy, vulnerability, inheritance, as well as other people's resources. Gains can come through your fortune, through your belief system, as well as a philosophy, the meaning of life, whatever that may mean to you. Very, very fortunate energy here. It is 11 from the 11th, the Pavat Pavam. And so knowing the meaning of your life, or at least exploring that, really getting to know yourself on that level, as well as really figuring out what philosophy best suits you, what lifestyle best suits you. This is what gives you the gains in life. And it tends to be very fortunate and expansive too. These individuals are very, very blessed in that department. But of course, there comes a balance. There needs to be the transformation. Where is that coming from? If the focus is on self-expression, confidence, creativity, love and romance, having fun, their transformation is going to come through their day-to-day. It's also going to come through their health. It can also come through mundane responsibilities, personal development as well. Definitely need to pay attention to your health, because this can be a sudden transformation, or certain things that need to be done in a specific time frame. All right. Also paying attention to work, so work here can be transformative. The work that they do can actually transform themselves, or they can go through intense experiences within their day-to-day. So it is really important here that they pay attention to their surroundings, and really let go of what no longer serves them in their day-to-day. This will actually help them to grow and evolve. And then 12 places from the 11th house would be the 10th house, career status, legacy, life's work. Could be very spiritual for them. Could help them to develop themselves spiritually, as well as to trust in the unknown. But I'm not going to lie, some hidden enemies can be seen through that 10th house. So authority figures, people that are in government, could be a karmic energy for these individuals. All right. If you guys have any questions for those that are watching live, feel free to ask now. Otherwise, if you're watching the pre-recorded version, I would love to know what questions that you have in the comment section at this time, okay? But for the last house ruler that we are doing for today, we have the first house ruler in the 12th house here too. 12th house is a very interesting house here. It deals with our spiritual development. It deals with our connection with the universe, trusting in the unknown, the karmic dealings in our life, the endings, the loss. What's next for us spiritually? It really is endings, is because we're about to be reborn. It's kind of like we're in the spiritual womb here. And so when you have your first house ruler in the 12th house, this can be a very, very challenging placement, because you may not know what the direction of your life is. You may not know what it is that you want to do, what you're meant to do. It can be very, very hard. So I recommend for these individuals to develop a connection for the universe. Okay, so it is really important for these individuals to have a connection with the universe and really focus on spiritual development. Okay, but these individuals do tend to be spiritual, mysterious, pure, soulful, imaginative as well. Major focus is going to be on physical health, routine, schedule, physical development, as well as being of service to others and efficiency. Okay, so their main focus is going to be on their day-to-day events, their 6th house. Okay, that is the farthest away point. That is their opposition. That's what's going to help them to find that balance, all right, between the physical and the spiritual. It is really important that these individuals do have some type of routine and schedule in their day-to-day. That way they're not, that way they can ground themselves. That way they're not too up in the clouds per se. And then karma can actually come through the paternal lineage lineage, expansion, philosophy and belief, past life deeds, luck and opportunity, and also fortune. So 10 places from the 12th house can actually be the 9th house here. And so it is really important for these individuals here to really find out what the meaning of life is for them. This could be a challenge, though. It's not going to be easy. It is going to come with a bit of karmic energy, and it could be expansive. It's not going to be just this small rinky-dinky, it's going to be expansive. It's going to feel expansive to them, but they have the energy to overcome it. Finding a belief system, finding whatever their life means could be a little hard. So tapping into that subconscious energy, really focusing on what's coming through that subconscious may help these individuals to find a belief system, to find that lifestyle that's best suited for them, to find that philosophy as well, to find their truth in life. Okay? And then we have their fulfillment. Their fulfillment's going to come through siblings, cousins, communication, their immediate environment, community, the mind, their thoughts, as well as mundane knowledge, gaining information or spreading information based off of what they have learned as well. Now, this is 4 places from itself, so 4 places from the 12th will be the 3rd house. And so the 3rd house here, it's really important for these individuals here to not spread incorrect information, to really gain the right information, but then back up that information with the correct validity. That way they're not spreading misinformation, because with the 3rd house, there's a tendency to speak information as if it is fact when it is in fact not. So it's important for these individuals to back up their information that they are sharing with others with some validity, or with information that validifies whatever it is that they're talking about. Okay, and then we have the challenges. So challenges are going to come through personal income, self-worth, value, the immediate family, and replenishment. And so challenges coming through that 2nd house here, 3 places from the 12th will be the 2nd house. Challenges with money is because this really comes with not knowing what to do certain things, or like how to go about doing certain things, or that vision in their minds. I tend to see this with 6th house placements, Virgo placements, Pisces, and 12th house placements. They see the end result in mind of what they want to do with their life. They see that vision, but they don't know how to put it into words. They may not know how to conceptualize it. And so it is really important to write it down, or really get it into this physical in some way. That way they can at least see what it is that they are trying to bring in or trying to manifest. And so when the challenges come through money, this can be really, this can be a challenge for them, is because they're not really focused on money. They're focused on the vision that the universe is showing them, but they don't really know how to go about it. So these individuals, it's really going to be important that they have some sort of income coming in, rather it be from a business, rather they have a job, rather whatever that may be for them. Watch for the frivolous spending as well. Self-effort is going to be required, okay? These individuals sometimes may not care about money, but it is important to know that you need money for survival at least, okay? But don't operate in the survival mindset, all right? Because that may not be healthy for you. Gains and losses. So for gains, if karma comes through the paternal lineage, expansive philosophy and belief, gains are going to come through career, status, legacy, life's work, success, and status. So these individuals definitely gain through their career because they do things that really help the masses out in the way, and they're really of service to the grand collective at large, because these individuals kind of have a theme of unconditional love. And so it is really important for these individuals to do something on the grand scale that's going to benefit not only just themselves, but everybody at large. And they do tend to do that because that's what they have. That's really their intention, is really to help out others and really have the world to be a better place and really be energetically better, per se. So they can really do some really good things in their career, and they can really execute any future endeavors that they may have for themselves. They may meet some lifelong friends in their career, status, legacy, and life's work, as well as people that organizations, friends, groups, networks that would really want to help them to grow that career as well too. Then we have transformation. So of course, if the focus is on physical health, routine, schedule, your 6th house, your transformation is going to come through relationships, partnerships, interpersonal connection, business contracts. That's 7th house. It's going to be very transformative for them. This can be because sometimes they have a tendency to fall in love with the potential. And so this can really bring in karmic relationships, people that may not have your purest intention at heart. So discernment is really going to be required. Get to know people before you get into a relationship with them. If in the case that you don't, it will be very transformative. But it's through these transformative experiences that help you to grow and evolve as well. So you may go through a couple of these. And then for the spiritual development, karmic endings, and loss, 12 from the 12th, the Pavat Pavam would be the 11th house here too. So I like to actually say Pisces, or the 12th house, is the vision, and the 11th house, or Aquarius, is how you execute that vision. And so it is really important for these individuals here. And it's going to be a little tricky here because it helps them to spiritually develop themselves when they're executing their own vision. That means confiding in friends, groups, networks, organizations to really help them to execute whatever goals that they may have for themselves. It may not make sense to everybody, but if you can conceptualize it and put it in words, at least we can at least get that going for you. And so it is going to be a little bit hard, but definitely channel into your subconscious, pay attention to your dreams, really establish that connection with the universe. That way you know what next step to take. All right. At this time, I'm going to answer any questions from my live here. Let's see here. My moon in Aries is in my 10th house. Would that be my house ruler? So moon in Aries, so no. So if Aries is your 10th house ruler, Mars is going to be the ruler of that 10th house. So you want to pay attention to what house Mars is sitting in, because then it'll be 10 in the, if it's sitting in the 6th house, 10 in the 6th. If it's sitting in the 5th house, 10 in the 5th. If it's sitting in the 4th, 10 in the 4th, so on and so forth. Okay. Let's see here. Any more questions that I see going on here? I would love to know, why do people ask, what does a specific planet in a house mean? When people ask why a specific planet in a house means, it's because when a planet is in a house, it's giving that planet's effects based on that area of life. So for instance, if you have Venus in the 6th house, Venus in the 6th is a picky patty energy. I'm speaking from experience. But Venus in the 6th, it's giving harmony, balance. It's also giving your sense of worth and value in the house of your day-to-day responsibilities, day-to-day events, work schedule, routine around personal development and physical health. So in relationships, you may know what it is that you want, but sometimes you may not meet your own standards when it comes to relationships. So it's really important that we are not setting the bar so high that you yourself can't get there. But that was just an example. That's just a very, very broad example. But the moral of the story is that wherever the placement is, it's giving you that more specific energy as to how that may manifest. And then with the chart rulers here, the chart rulers being in specific houses tell me how what the meaning of your life may be, or the meaning of your life's direction may be. So say, for instance, if you have a Cancer ascendant with the moon in the 4th house, this may be that your life's direction is moving towards home, family, processing your feelings and your emotions, listening to your intuition, finding a place of belonging, becoming your authentic self as well, and so on and so forth. Let's see here. Do we have more question? Let's see. Oop. I just have questions. Oh, this is not from a book. This is just a presentation. Let's see. Would you be willing to go over first house ruler in the 3rd, specifically career? So first house ruler in the 3rd, specifically career. Let's go back to the 1st and 3rd. So 1st and 3rd, 10 places from the 3rd house will actually be the, let's see here, 12th house here. So if your first house ruler is in the 3rd house, your career could be spiritual of some sort, or it could require some subconscious work. It doesn't necessarily have to be spiritual, but it could be something that you are manifesting that requires a connection with the universe as well. But I would be able to answer it more if I knew the planets and the aspects that are in your chart, because I'm just going based off of just the general sense as well. All right, we're going to take a couple more questions. I already did that. Have you explained empty houses? I have not. So empty houses, if you have empty houses in your chart, that just means that you don't have any particular lessons. I was going to say specific, but specific and particular were trying to merge in my mind. You don't have any specific lessons in regards to that area of life. That doesn't mean that you won't have the relationship if you don't have any 7th house planets, or you're not going to have a career if you don't have any 10th house placements. It just means that that's not pivotal for your incarnation this time round. You are still going to have transits. You're going to have progressed transits in that chart, in your chart as well. So you're definitely going to have some experiences in that house. It's just not a priority in your chart this time around. Okay. Let's see here. We're going to take one more question. Is your house ruler your rising, your chart ruler? So yes, for this example, yes, your first house ruler will be your chart ruler. All right. But we're pretty much going to wrap that up, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our class today. I'll probably be back next week to do another class as well. But until next time, everyone, I fare thee well. Take care. Bye-bye.